unanimously. Okay, maybe I better start that again. All right. So I call the meeting to order. We have everybody here. We have a quorum. I'm now on to the board president's remarks. And after I have remarks, I'm going to call on the board vice president, Daniel Corona. And the first remark I have is to thank the Montgomery County Council and the Montgomery County Executive for unanimously approving our using 14 early voting sites again in 2026. As the board knows, we voted unanimously to submit that recommendation to return. And we also voted unanimously to submit to the state board our recommendation to return to all 14 of the sites that we used in the last election, with the added bonus that we will have the gym at the activity center at Borough Park in Gaithersburg, which will obviously be a major improvement compared to the situation we had because of the gym resurfacing for the 2024 election. And we'll be submitting that to the State Board of Elections as part of our election plan. Second, I wanted to mention that I gave a presentation. I was invited by the Montgomery County Democratic Party to give a presentation on our election statistics and trends. I did that last Monday evening. I also have offered to give, and I believe it's been accepted, to give the same presentation or something similar because they're talking about doing it in the fall. There'll be a little bit of extra data to add. And I'm very much looking forward to that opportunity as well. And of course, would be happy to give this presentation to others who are interested. I want to especially thank Boris, who spent way too much of his time helping me with this presentation while he was visiting his family in Europe. I'm not going to ask the staff about all the other things he did while he was visiting his family in Europe, but in any event, I very much appreciate, Boris, all of your help with that. We have a few pieces of sad news to mention today. I have a couple of them, and then I'm going to call on Daniel. First, I learned this morning that Montgomery County Register of Wills Joseph Griffin passed away yesterday. He was 60 years old. He was a career public servant, serving as first as an assistant chief deputy in the office from 1993 to 1998, and then getting elected as Register of Wills in 1998, and in every 4 years since then. And to give you a sense of the enormity of that, not only was he elected 7 times, first of all, when he was first elected, Kevin Karpinski was not the attorney for the Board of Elections. And so I don't think Kevin has presided at a gubernatorial year canvass where Joseph Griffin was not on the ballot. His office was known for being well run, and I wanted to share. I asked a state attorney who I know because I knew of Mr. Griffin, but I didn't know Mr. Griffin. So I asked an estate attorney I know to kind of give me his thoughts about the Register of Wills, and if it's okay, I'm just going to share that with all of you as soon as I find it here. Okay, I guess I'm not going to find it there. I'm going to find it on my phone. All right, here we go. So this comes from Patrick Howley, who's a trust and estates attorney at Shulman Rogers. We had heard this morning, and we were all shocked and saddened by Joe's passing. Our office has worked with him for his entire tenure, and he was a tremendous leader of both his office and the registers of wills throughout the state. He really set the standard for how to run a registrar's office, and his shoes would be very difficult to fill. He always understood that he was dealing with families experiencing a loss, and he communicated that well to his staff. It's a very sad day in the local and statewide estates and trust community. So anyway, I wanted to share that. I personally am dealing with the Register of Wills, dealing with my mom's passing from last September. Anyway, I have a real appreciation for what they do. I also want to make clear that According to the Maryland Constitution, the Register of Wills interim successor will be chosen by the Montgomery County Orphans Court judges. And then the Register of Wills position will be on the ballot in the 2026 election, but there are no special elections for Register of Wills. And then the second bit of sad news, one of my longtime friends and mentors passed away recently. Her name was Susan Gildenhorn. She was a very zealous and effective local advocate for the disabled and their families. She passed away on July the 6th. I met her and her husband, who was very active in politics more than 50 years ago, on a political campaign, and we've been, good friends ever since. She kind of married into politics. But she quickly became a force in her own right. She was smart and savvy and loved by just about everyone who knew her. Her husband, of course, was much more controversial. She not only was, she successfully lobbied the Maryland General Assembly for legislation to place disabled adults in community facilities and to create the first round-the-clock respite care home for the disabled. She will be absolutely greatly missed. I was very lucky that when we went to Ocean City for the biennial meeting, I had lunch with her and her husband, and that was the last time I saw her. So anyway, I just wanted to mention her passing, a great loss for our community. And last and certainly not least, we got the very sad news about the passing of Daniel Karuma's mother, and I know you have the best wishes and prayers of everyone associated with the board, members, staff, and et cetera. But I was hoping that you would share a little bit with us about her.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to Boris and the staff members who reached out. Many of you met my mom during our swearing ceremony. Who, I think, in my life experience, was one of her most proud moments of me, because she has a whole lot of not so proud moments of me. But our story is one of resilience, courage, strength, in not only having four of us, but also ensuring that the three of us who were in Sierra Leone, West Africa, escaped the terrible and brutal war that went on in Sierra Leone. So we mourn my mom, Miss Elizabeth Elliott Bavo, who again is a loving mom. She's a family pillar. She's a cherished member of our lives and the lives of many who she's actually touched. On Tuesday, July 29th, is when she lost her battle with cancer. But it happened so fast because it's only 2 weeks ago she went to the doctor to do a checkup on the knee surgery she had. And after her blood work came back, she was informed to go to the, well, not informed, she was taken to the emergency ward because after doing, taking samples, doing biopsies, realized that she had stage 4 cancer. Again, she was a very strong woman. I would have been a high school dropout, and she refused for me to drop out of high school. I would have been a college dropout. Not only she refused, but she told me that, I only had 4 choices: a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or dead. I chose to be an engineer. Not only because of her courage, I was able to complete my undergrad in engineering, with my master's degree in engineering. And when I finished my program at Harvard, the pin that Harvard gave me, I actually turned over to her because she actually deserved all the education that I went through. So as we call her Mama, as I thank you on Tuesday, I'm thanking you publicly today for all what you did for me, for Bridget, for Etta, and for Jeffrey. And we have the esteemed honor to be your children, and we'll continue to make you proud. Thank you, everyone, again for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you very much. And I will say that I remember meeting her at our swearing in, and I don't think there was a prouder person in the room. And there were a lot of proud people in that room, but I don't think there was a prouder person in the room than your mom was of you. So thank you for doing that. That was all that I was aware of. Is there anyone else who wants to make remarks before we get to our main agenda? Alex.
Following that presentation will be a difficult act.
Yes.
And I suppose we may get to this later in the meeting, but I wanted to thank Mr. Karpinski once again for his advocacy in response to the open meetings compliance complaint. Because as the decision that I've now read seems to indicate that response hit right on target, and property played no small role in how they came out of it.
I second that, and I should say that I wish we could send a bill to the other local boards of elections that will benefit from Kevin's work. Because he more than earned his pay on that one. And I mean, he more than earns his pay every day, but we thank you for that. That's
Thank you.
Very, very much appreciated. We don't need to take a vote on that one. It's unanimous. So thank you for that, Alex. Totally agree. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda? Okay, are there any disclosures of campaign contributions or attendance at fundraisers? I see none. Are there any public comments today?
No public comments that we have received.
None were submitted. Any public comments today? Nope. Okay. Then we will, we have a member of the public who is here in person, but not commenting. So we will move on to the. I am looking now to see, we have some attendees on the web, but nobody has their hand up. Since no one has, if anyone who is watching this meeting would like an opportunity to comment in public comments, please raise your hand. And I don't see any hands raised, so we will move on. And next on the agenda is the election director's report.
Thank you. This will be a very brief overview of the election director report that's published on our website. The agenda for today's board meeting was published last Monday, as it's established practice for the Montgomery County Board of Elections. The report and all other meeting materials were placed on our website on Thursday and shared with the board. In addition to all the documents that are publicly presented, as per legal requirement, we send a notification to all elected officials, interested citizens, and organizations who signed up to be notified whenever board is changing a polling place. That notification went out on July 21st, as the board today will look and consider and possibly vote to change location of the drop box in Riderwood Senior Living Community and polling place for the precinct 1201. When it comes to the voter registration statistics, the board will notice that we are kind of steady going forward month by month. Our active registered voters is still a bit over 705,000, with the party distribution holding steady, as you might expect. When it comes to the personnel, very briefly, we'll be moving forward and advertising an office service coordinator position in water services. This position was previously held by our colleague Jennifer, who was promoted with the last vacancy. When it comes to temporary positions, we are still holding only one position in the team to help us with the ongoing
assessments of the polling places, which is required for as a part of preparation for the 2026 gubernatorial elections. When it comes to budget, this is the first month of the new fiscal year. The budget lines are barely touched, as you might expect in the summer period, this far out from the election season. Mainly the expenditures are related to the staffing costs. Sections overview, water services, I would say business as usual, list maintenance and processing all the incoming requests from our voters or from the agencies that we receive data from. That's part of our regular work. We are altering slightly what we do in implementation of our nursing home program, that we are legally required to go out to nursing homes and assist those residents to register to vote or request vote by mail ballot or vote. Instead of waiting to get close to the election, we are making this ongoing activity throughout non-election year as well. We have reached out to the county. We are getting all the data that we need in terms of new homes. One home that used to be part of our program is out because they went out of business, and we are expecting 4 nursing homes to be open by the next election. So we are starting process early, trying to minimize the workload as we get close to election, trying to spread it out through the non-election year as well. When it comes to candidate filing, my report includes the list of the number of candidates who filed for certain positions. I can share with the board that 2 candidates filed the day after I submitted this report, so you will see that in the next month. It was kind of already on the website.
Can you just tell us, I know one of them was for sheriff. What, do you remember what the other one was for?
It was District Councilman District 1.
Okay, so there are now 2 candidates for Councilmanic District 1 who have filed, and 2 candidates for sheriff who have filed.
That should be reflected next time.
Thank you.
No problem. Voting system and the information technology section. We are doing ongoing maintenance on our equipment. There is a schedule provided by the state. We are following that schedule, so we are moving from one piece of equipment to another following that time frame. Election resource management system. We are getting in the final stretches, Janet, I would say, of that. It might take still more time, but the big chunk is behind us, and we continue to work on the website update that we mentioned earlier. The whole county is moving every agency based on the new DOJ requirements. When it comes to operations section, it's a shredding season. We are trying to get rid of all the documents, to shred all the documents that we are legally allowed to shred. You would recall the documents from 2020 and 2022 were on hold. I think Kevin spoke quite a few times about that legal case. Now we are trying to shred those documents and open a space to organize our warehouse and available space to retain 2024 and prepare the space for the incoming materials of 2026. Big activity, of course, this time of the year is visits to every polling place in the county and doing the assessments that we need include as a part of our election plan for the state vote for the final approval sometime later this year. Outreach, recruitment, and training section. We never stop when it comes to outreach. We will have a separate point later on the agenda. Gilberto will talk more about that, but it's a whole team effort at this time of the season. Any incoming request for anyone who might be interested to serve as election judge going forward, of course, we process it as they come along. And now lead trainer is working with the other colleagues from other jurisdictions and the state to look at the election judge's manual to introduce some changes based on whatever knowledge was collected in the 2024 or legislative changes were introduced. So in summary, that would be election director's report for August 2024.
Okay, are there any questions for Boris? Alex?
Floors, the evaluation of the polling location for accessibility, is that in the disability sense, you mean, or is that in a broader sense, Steve?
So maybe you can touch more about that, but first of all is ADA. We are looking about accessibility in terms of entrances, slopes, ingresses, parking spaces and everything. But we are looking also at the other, while we are there, we are looking at the premise itself. We are looking at the connectivity, we are looking at the sockets, believe it or not, their location, how we can, Larry would know very well, locations, number of the sockets available in the room, their location. Do we need to look at to change the plans for the setup of the polling place and something? So we are trying to do as much as possible in one go. But it is a requirement and it's submitted as a part of the overall election plan that we submit to the state and state approves on the every polling place.
Oh, so you have to submit a report on accessibility, you mean?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you have to complete that process, I guess, by the time.
That's the one of the largest tasks in a non-election year for the operation section.
Is that separate or part of our election plan?
That will be part of the election plan, but the technical detail. So we propose the list of the polling places, the board approves those, and then we go out and do the assessments of those that board approved. And that becomes part of the election plan that's submitted to the state, that state has to review. So there will be, my understanding, the state will look at a couple of issues when they review the election plan, but ADA compliance is a big one.
But I also assumed that when you all proposed essentially places we've already used, that you have a pretty
We checked
good,
that before.
right, you have a pretty good idea that it's going to pass muster.
Yeah.
It's just that you have to present the information in the way that they're asking for it.
So for those that were used before, we are pretty confident where do we stand, even though we do the check on each single one of them before every election, because things might change. For the new polling places that we present to the board, Mindy goes out and verifies whether, from our perspective, the proposed location would pass accessibility and other state requirements.
So if you go out and find that there's a problem, I guess that your options would be, maybe it can be corrected without having to change the place, right?
So
And then you figure out something.
preferred solution is to correct, as Mindy would very much confirm. If we are talking to MCPS, I know for sure, we spoke last week about one location where they are addressing entrance to the polling place is built of the cement concrete blocks, and one block sank in 2 inches, which would prevent anyone in a wheelchair to have a smooth entry. So literally, Mindy worked with the MCPS, they put the ticket in to level it. Because for you and me, it's not an issue, and we understand that we live in Maryland, that concrete blocks of certain weight or heavy weight will sink over in a while. So they are correcting that. Literally, I think it's inch and a half, but it has to.
An inch and a half. I mean, so these are just not, this is not full-fledged ADA survey, so we should be doing ADA survey rechecked periodically at locations, at our polling locations, to ensure that, one, nothing has changed, two, if something, a curb cut is damaged, things like that, there's things that we can send to MCPS to rectify prior to election day when we get there and realize that the accessibility curb cut is no longer accessible at this moment. At that point in time, it's a little late. So we should be periodically going through all of these locations just to make sure additional work doesn't need to be done, updating any of our documentation, noting any changes that they have made, things of that nature.
Does the work have to be completed before we submit the plan, or does it just have to, do we just have to have a plan for its completion in time?
So with the election plan, there's several documents, one of which is a site selection form, which is general information regarding the facility, connectivity, bus routes, things of that nature. And then the ADA accessibility survey. So all of those things will repurpose the ones from the 24 election plan, then any updates get updated with the 26 election plan. So this is just a recheck. So us going through and making sure that anything that was previously noted has been rectified and make note of anything where we may have to send out additional supplies to make temporary adjustments for election day, whether it be a mat or something to address,
Right.
you know, what Boris had mentioned.
Well, and I'll just say that I appreciate, I mean, it's not, you said just a recheck, but if you're catching a 2-inch difference this far in advance of the election, I really appreciate that because that's a level of detail that I'm happy that we are paying attention to. Larry,
And they cleared the trees from Westbrook School,
Westland,
the middle school, yeah.
it was Westland.
yeah, it wasn't Westbrook, it was Westland.
Westland.
Yeah.
Where the trees fell.
We had the information that the trees are clean, that the building will be ready to open for
Yeah,
the new
they're
school.
not worried about building right for, I do believe summer camps were back in the facility within
Couple days.
a couple days. It's just a safety thing while cranes and everything were in the area.
May I just add two things? Number one, we are big county. We are talking about 232 locations, so this idea that we can wrap it up in a week or so, it doesn't fly. Making a schedule, arranging with the individuals who are in the school, showing up at the time and they are available, but they are not tangled in their camp. So it's not like we are just driving around and drive-by review. Changes do happen. There is a procedure to change a polling place because the roof collapsed. There was a water main break or something like that. The same could happen with any provision of the construction that's ADA relevant. So we will pay attention to those. We will react as much as possible. Some things will be corrected by MCPS. If we get too close to election, maybe some alternative solution, as Billy said, would be sorted out. You good?
Yeah, you just can't talk on about it.
Okay, well, we very much appreciate that. Anything else on Boris's report? I don't need an answer to this now, but I'll just be curious, since we just got the news today about the Register of Wills, I assume that there's a process for figuring out that he has to come off the ballot because he did file for office.
We'll follow up,
yeah.
on that.
Yes.
I
so,
think it's,
yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
follow up, but the bottom line is the moment his person,
His death certificate, right.
processed,
Right.
it will trigger in the system.
Oh,
Certain-
okay.
But let
Right.
us look at I never experienced a situation where the candidate passed away while active, so let us look.
Yes.
We have time. for
Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else for Boris? Okay, I believe the next would be the Board Attorney's report. Kevin.
Thank you, David. As Alex and David mentioned, we did get, along with many other local boards, Open Meetings Act complaint regarding our canvas minutes not being posted. We filed a response to that complaint because under the Open Meetings Act, there are certain exceptions that apply if the activity at issue is either quasi judicial or executive in nature. And we basically took the position that the Open Meetings Act didn't apply to the canvas because the board itself either is acting in a quasi judicial capacity when either voting to accept or not accept a vote by mail ballot and really performing a ministerial function when it processes provisional ballots. A couple days after the last board meeting, the Open Meetings Act issued their opinion. They agreed with our position and concluded that the board did not violate the Open Meetings Act. So that issue has been resolved. Nice little opinion from the Open Meetings Act. So that's one thing that's occurred since our last meeting. The other is been working with Boris and Mindy on these MOUs for Montgomery County, Gaithersburg, Sandy Spring. Go ahead and get those finalized. So we should have those ready to queue up in the next 2 weeks. So we'll start circulating them to Gaithersburg, the fire company, and to Montgomery County regarding our early voting sites.
Larry, and then I have a question.
These MOUs like with the parks and the access to the community centers, is that what those cover?
Right, so it sets forth basically when the, center manager and other staff can get in, when equipment will be delivered, all those sort of nuts and bolts that they outline.
Could the center manager get in earlier?
It's 5 o'clock we have right now. It's 5 o'clock.
Open polls at 7.
Keep in mind that the center manager at Potomac may be a different one this time than in the past. That person may not want to get in as early as the last
Oh,
one.
he will. It is, it was just a half hour shy of what we needed to get in the
No,
job.
it's 5 o'clock. We have it.
That one certain person was not among us.
Yeah. I didn't necessarily want to out him, you know, so. My question is, I don't know if we should be concerned about this or not, but, if the MOUs are approved before the state board approves the sites, are there any issues associated with that? Because, I know we're not submitting our election plan for some time. I'm glad that we're way ahead of the game on all this stuff. I just want to make sure that we dot all the i's and cross all the
Well,
t's.
we'll go ahead and sign it after, you know, they get approved. I will tell you, it's a long process to get it. There are lots of levels of review,
Okay,
particularly with Montgomery County.
Okay.
There are a lot of people that get it, have input in it, so.
so
we
without
just wanna
trying,
Start the
yeah,
process early so that we're not,
right,
you know, pounding them at the last minute saying, we need you to go ahead and
Yeah.
turn this around tomorrow.
okay,
Because I think there are probably 5 or 6 people in the county that look at it,
okay, great.
so. That's all I have.
Okay, any other questions for Kevin? All right, next is the website update for us.
Just very briefly, as you might expect, that the level of activity on our website holds steady for the summer season of the non-election year. So I would say, compared to the previous months, it's almost identical. The volume is still very, very low. We are on 6,000-7,000 visits a month compared to a couple of hundred we had the election season. But again, it's a summer season, it's a normal. This report is published on the website, provides for the last 3 months. We'll continue giving these updates, but I would say business as usual in summer season.
I got the sense that although the volume was very similar, that the focus is changing somewhat towards election judge recruitment. In a good way, as in people are beginning to think about it and it's far in advance of the election.
I think that Gilberto is here, he will talk about outreach. This is something that feeds, basically our ongoing outreach activities feed into this.
Mhm.
And yes, it sticks out on this small volume, but the volume is so small that we cannot generalize that
Right,
there's a problem. But yeah, the number is up. Again, we are active throughout the whole season, whether it's election year or non-election year, so there are benefits of that.
okay. Anything else on the website? All right, then we move to Dr. Zelaya on the outreach update. Pull up a chair. Just pull up a chair. Yeah. Thank you for being here.
No, my pleasure.
Okay.
Happy summer to everyone. My condolences to my brother Daniel.
Thank you, sir.
So outreach is going. So right now, leading up, actually tomorrow's National Night Out. So we will be at the Montgomery College Germantown campus, the Gwendolyn Caulfield Community Center and Leisure World. So I welcome the community to come visit our table, ask questions, sign up to become a poll worker. Everything under the sun, update your voter registration, etc. And we're also going to be at the Strathmore Bloom Festival this Saturday at Good Hope Neighborhood Community Center. And that's a collaboration with the Rec Department and Strathmore Center for the Arts. And lastly, towards the end of August, before school starts, we'll be at the MCPS Back to School Fair at Westfield Wheaton. Once again, I encourage the community to contact us when any events come up, whether big or small. We will be there present as our director, communicated to the community. It's a great opportunity to engage. I'm also big on provisional prevention because the
Yes.
more your records are up to date, it helps with moving the lines accordingly. And everyone will have an outstanding experience, both from the perspective of our poll workers wanting to serve our voters and the voters wanting to vote. So
I think we're all big on provisional prevention, and I think that Ami and I may be bigger than anyone as the ones who have to go through the rejected ballots on the provisional prevention. So thank you for that.
No, my pleasure. And also, I do want to also share and thank the Republican National, the Central Committee from Montgomery County. We were in July, we did our second series
Right.
of voter registrar training to get them, up to date.
And the people I know on the committee thought it was very well done.
Okay, I appreciate that. It's team effort all around. So anytime there's any events, once again, big or small, please invite us. We're getting ready to finalize details for National Voter Registration Day, which is the 16th of September. And also we're finalizing our calendar as pertains to going back to visit the high schools early fall. As you know, as Boris stated, we do year-round outreach, including to the high schools. Someone's always turning 16 years of age. Someone's always will have the opportunity to vote in the primaries as a 16-year-old, as long as they turn 18 by the general election. So it's important that we do reach out to our young cohort, including both in public and private schools. So that's in the works right now.
Okay, a couple of things, and I'll come to you, Ami. First, when you go to my alma mater, please let me know because it's now in my neighborhood. So
Okay.
I'd probably like to join you for that.
Okay. What school is this?
North. Yeah. I just also wanted to say for the record that I'm very happy that you did the voter registrar training for the Republican Party. That is something we would do for the Democratic Party, for the Libertarians, for the Workers' Party, et cetera. That's something we would do for others. And so if others are hearing this and they say, what about us? Give us a call.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
My question is, are you going to be at the Ag Fair?
At the Ag Fair, no. So in the past, we would, but historically, both the central committees have a strong presence and also candidates. And a lot of time, we're kind of a conduit of bringing forms back. Also, we have a lot of staff taking vacations, so it's kind of difficult to cover the Ag Fair. It's been historically challenging. I per se will be also out for 2 weeks next week. And so that's the reason, but we do go to other events. We are lined up for Potomac Day, Kentland's Day, Oktoberfest. So there's a lot of large events that we also have a presence year round.
Any other questions for Dr. Zelaya? Okay, thank you very much. Much appreciated. So next is old business. We have 2 staff proposals, one for a Dropbox location and one for a polling place location. So
No, you're gonna be over here. I just need to get your presentation up for you.
Thank you, sir.
No,
This
it's
is
not gonna,
connected.
it's not gonna connect up there, so I need to.
Can we not do the PDF version?
Well, whatever you're gonna have to send it to me, or put it somewhere where I can pick it up.
That's fine, Kevin, just
Take your time.
just share it space for me.
feel free to grab a chair.
She's gonna
I'm
sit here.
gonna grab candidates in a second,
Okay. We have enough chairs that you all can sit,
maybe grab them,
you know.
Email them?
maybe.
You put in a nice job.
We're certainly not making any effort to have our staff play music with chairs at this event.
Share of it.
So.
Shame. It is a big difference. Yes. Yeah.
There's been
I know. I wouldn't talk about it. Zoom. Didn't you even show up? Was it?
Yeah. Small price.
Okay. Yeah, you just have to go to slideshow and you're good.
Yeah, I can't get to the cursor, it keeps covering it up.
Yeah, the cursor looks like it's moving with a mind of its own. There you go.
There we go.
Um,
Uh, I'll be just very brief. The board has already approved the list of drop boxes for 2026 election cycle. Today, we will present a change of location for one of those drop boxes. And when I say change of location, I'm literally talking about a block,
Not even.
not even a block that is caused by the ongoing or planned construction. So we are not moving Dropbox to different facility. It's just moving a little bit to stay out of the construction site. And the last thing is, as the board approved the polling places, the one polling place for precinct 1201 was left out because we were looking for the suitable location that would meet the legal requirements. And we have one, so Mindy will take it through.
So very briefly, we'll start with the Dropbox location. Construction is planned at the original location within Riderwood, so we're looking to move it from 3110 Gracefield Road to 3120 Gracefield Road, which is where the ballot drop box originated, when we started, over at Riderwood. It will now be within the same building as the assigned polling location for Riderwood as well. And then straight into the polling place change for 1201. Proposed location would be Clear Spring Elementary School, which is at 9930 Moyer Road in Damascus. It is roughly 1.5 miles from the previous location, which was Damascus Elementary School. Damascus Elementary School is located in 1202. Clear Spring is located in 1205, which is adjacent to 120.
1202 is not adjacent to
1202
1205?
is not adjacent to 1205.
Okay, so we're moving to an adjacent precinct from a non-adjacent.
We're
precinct.
moving to an adjacent precinct from a non-adjacent precinct, which will, there's not a location within 1201 that's available to us. Our numbers.
Can you go back, please, to the numbers, just so I can,
Sorry, I gotta get rid of this. Okay.
so that's from the general election.
That's correct.
So election day number was 300.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's relatively small.
thank you.
This is the main entrance to Clear Spring Elementary. When we propose our no electioneering zones, I think I will propose 2, the main entrance as well as the side entrance. It'll be in the next slide. Side entrance is more ADA accessible and it's closer to the voter parking. So this would be the additional voter entrance.
So I can't,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, can you go back to that? All
First
right,
one or the,
no, just the side entrance.
are you having a hard time seeing that third sign?
Yeah, well, I can see the third sign is way over on the, I'm just trying to see about where the electioneers can be because it shows the signs, but is there space? I see that there's space to the right of the sign that's furthest to the right. Is there also space to the left?
There is also space to the left, on this parking area where those handicap spots are. The median kind of comes across and then there's also 2 side medians. So there is some,
Okay, so we're keeping them out of the street and there is some sidewalk on each side.
Yep.
But also if voters park in the handicap, they can go straight to the entrance and I guess they could be an electioneer on that median and right in front of the parking spaces.
in theory, yeah.
In theory, I realize that would be
Yeah. Yeah.
right in their faces, but,
Yeah. But there's ample, like that on the right side of that right sign,
yes,
it kind of V's out into a larger area.
Okay.
So there's ample space, but
right,
some of it would impede access to the main
Sure.
entrance, but.
sure, okay, thank you.
Quick question. I also see the, is that a parking lot that's right?
Mhm.
Okay, and how many, ADA. We have that number or,
4 ADA spots, at least one of which was van accessible.
okay,
So more than enough to meet
the requirement.
the requirements, yeah.
Thank you for that.
And then if needed, and we only elected to use the front entrance, we could create temporary ADA spots out front.
Why would we want to do that if this is
I
closer to the
wouldn't.
parking and this has handicapped accessible and closer to the polling place?
It was better speech.
Yeah, if this would be my preference.
Okay. Is there also parking near the front entrance, or is it just that people have a tendency to use the front entrance? Anywhere, I mean.
People have a tendency to use the front entrance
Mm-hmm,
at most locations, because if you GPS a location, it's gonna
Right.
bring you to that front entrance.
right.
So some locations, when we do the no electioneering zones in September,
Mm-hmm,
I would like to do away with some of the front entrances because we don't necessarily, they're not what is used by the voter. So
can we put signs that tell people use
it
the
would,
side entrance?
we would be looking at additional voter parking signs,
Right.
things like that, creating some new signage that would direct voters from
Right.
one area to the other area as to where they're gonna be
Yeah,
parking.
I know that in some of our polling locations, it's really hard to see where the entrance is because they're on the side or the back or whatever. And so any kind of signage that is visible from the street, that tells people this is where you go,
Mhm.
is very helpful.
Yeah, so we're looking at additional signage and potential A-frames. I think Seneca Valley High School is one similar to what we do at Sandy Spring.
Okay, you might add, St. Elizabeth's Church
It's on
to,
my list.
okay,
That's
good.
the one you and I spoke about.
yeah,
last-
yeah,
last-
okay, that's what I,
Yeah.
I didn't remember the conversation, but I remember people having trouble finding them.
Yeah, so that's kind of where the signs derived from, like some of the lessons learned from
Yeah.
24.
Excellent, thank you.
Margie.
Oh, I'm sorry, Margie, go
That's
ahead.
okay. I just had a quick question, for the signs, and this might just be something that I wasn't aware of, do we have signs that, are at least aren't very much impacted by the wind? Cause last, I think, election cycle, I was like picking up signs to make sure that you could still see them, it's like some of them would topple over, so I was just wondering if they're.
We do all of our vote here signs and the voter parking signs directional signage that I'm looking into are all corrugated plastic with hard plastic spider stakes as opposed to the standardized metal H-frame stakes. They're a lot sturdier. So that's what we use for our vote here signs during the 24 cycle. That's what we're looking to go into for 26 for all the other signs. Were those the signs that you were, or was it more of
I
campaign
referred
signs?
to some of those reserved ADA parking signs that, remember, we used that.
Or the no.
Or the no electioneering.
They blow away.
Yeah,
And a
Yeah.
polling place where you have to find rocks and water bottles.
yeah, I was gonna say, can we provide rocks?
They will
Just
always
build
kind
up.
of blow away depending on the storm that's coming, because
Yeah.
non-electioneering signs are usually on concrete or asphalt.
Yeah.
So we
because they
cannot
have to be-
stick them into the soil.
Right, but can we put weights in them so that it's at least a little bit harder?
We have instructions for the election judges to secure them, but I think including 10K cinder blocks in the.
Well, I realize that we don't wanna make it harder on election judges than we have to, but on the other hand, if they don't use them, they will, I mean, the electioneering signs move pretty easily. And it's also one of the most likely things that we will get called about on election day.
Can't you just use the blue tape that you use for the floor?
It,
Put it down?
Not on concrete.
It works
sticks
to a
little
point.
bit in the event of rain or
Yeah.
anything like that. I mean, I think it can be something that's honed in on a little bit more during training and stuff like that and
Yeah,
during. the
Janet
judges'
just reminded me
training.
that during the training for the chiefs, we advised them to bring some water jugs or something that they could hold the signs, but again, it's a long day. I know there were instances that signs were flipped on the side, they were still there, but. they were-
Right, and then we've got 8 days of early voting. So,
Duct tape.
yeah, I mean, I have kind of mixed feelings about telling the election judge that it's their job to find water jugs. In addition to everything else, I don't know what the alternative is because tape doesn't necessarily work.
Well, and every
Um,
site is different.
And every site is different.
And so you can't issue, six bags of water and think it works for every site.
No, that's true. It depends on where, it depends on where those signs are going and it depends, I mean, there's a lot of different factors, but.
The state manual works very well.
And I also just say, any solution.
So we just need to request more of the state manual.
That's right.
Yeah,
I just say that any solution that would include us providing any kind of weights for the election judges to use during early voting, especially on election day, it will be an operational nightmare, if not impossible. Because we would need a warehouse just for those, and then assign them based on the number of signs that are going out, number of entrances, assuming that the chief judges are capable of lifting all of that, putting in their car, unloading their car, and placing them on the right spot. So it's
okay, but if we don't do that, and if they don't come up with a weight, then, you're sending us to those locations because fights will start.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on where. At Potomac, fights will start.
To break up one fight.
Yes, we did. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, there's definitely, I mean, I wish it were not so. That the no electioneering signs are that big a deal, but they are.
But do you
Um,
provide water?
No.
Oh, I thought you did. I guess the school provided us a pile of water, okay, because 3 of these taped together work very well. But
I have
It's
a
good
quick
to know.
follow-up question. You mentioned that it is
Good
part
to
of
know
the
too.
training or part of the materials that mentioned secure the electioneering sign. But, and obviously, because there's so much going on, I find that it just falls to the bottom of the list of importance, like what is important, but then. When I was trying to find things to secure, I ended up looking for rocks
Right.
on the
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah.
And I think it's gonna depend on how busy or stressed out a judge might be, but I just wondering the training, how important it's seen, because it's something that people who are there complain to me about as well, that they're standing too close. And then it's like, well, where's the
sign.
where's the sign?
Right.
So I was just wondering, maybe in the training, if it's something I know it's annoying, but if you could figure it out.
It just seems to me that it's almost exactly the kind of thing that will be on the back burner until the windy day comes.
Yeah.
And we're asking a lot of our election judges already, and we're asking, so please consider if there are any solutions. We definitely do not want an operational nightmare, and we definitely, I don't believe that it's an operational impossibility because you guys can do anything. I've seen it. But if there's something we can do, even if it's just water bottles.
I'm sticking with the state manual.
Yeah, well, yeah, or more copies. Yeah, I mean, whatever it is, I just feel like if we can do something to assist people with this, I think we're gonna save ourselves a lot of grief in with a little bit of preparation.
So, Boris, I would also, because I'm thinking in terms of the liability that also this could possess when lifting
fly.
off, and so I don't know if that's something you guys need to research as well, Kevin.
Well, there's two kinds of liability. There's the liability for lifting things, but there's also the liability when the sign hits somebody in the head too.
That's good.
How about bean bags?
Beanbags actually, as I said, was considered. So Mindy just shared with us 2 entrances to 1 polling location. We are talking about 3 or 4 non-electioneering signs. In this case, we are talking about a total of 8
Yeah.
sandbags. That's 8 sandbags that we have to have stored in this building. When election judges, chiefs
Yeah.
come to pick up materials, someone needs to bring them out, put in their car, they have to unload it. If they are not using that car, change the car, or if they're using that car, take them out and everything. So what would be the size of the sandbag? What are we talking?
Well,
Five bucks, yeah, 5 to
we're
7
not
bucks.
trying to, to prevent the signs from moving in a hurricane. I mean, obviously, so. Yes, there's a balance between how heavy I mean, I don't want it to be so heavy that it's gonna be a burden, but we have to have something, because if we have nothing and we just have tape, that's where we run into. But I mean, the tape helps,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Fair enough. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, from our perspective, we looked into a couple of these options.
right,
Because it's not only what we can do. We need to have a buy-in
of what they can do.
of
Yeah.
450 chief judges, what they are willing.
Right,
to
but we're
sign
also,
up.
but we're also asking them to go procure whatever it is that they're doing if we don't provide them something. Which is an additional burden on them. Some of our locations, finding rocks is easy.
Yeah.
Some of them, not so much.
But here's a low-tech solution. If, when the election materials are delivered to the site, in the supply cart was a box of gallon Ziploc bags
Okay,
filled with water. Put
Well,
it
that's-
aside.
You get that box for an early voting location, you don't receive something
Well,
like
you get
that
four, then.
for.
You get 4 or 5 for the polling place.
Yeah, but you don't, for an election day location, you don't get that. So for an election day location, for an early voting site, you may get 5 to 8 cards to include your ballot cards. For an early voting location, depending upon the size of the location,
Election
you
day.
may get, that's what
Right.
election day, you may get one black card. That includes the scanners, the BMDs, the ballots, the no electioneering signs, the vote here signs. So spatially, we are spatially constrained, and the number of pages, ballot pages and things like that go into play in terms of. Janet, I'm thinking additional black carts, like what our availability in terms of inventory may look like.
do we have a transport? How much does it extend,
Yeah.
the whole operation of
Well, if they're,
storage on the polling place location?
Well, then, I mean, but for, all right, I work,
Fair enough.
I work a little slower. If you just tell me to bring 3-gallon Ziploc bags, I'll bring them.
Yeah, I mean,
Fill them
it,
with water.
gallons of
Again,
blood.
we are dealing with 400.
yeah, not everyone, not everyone will be able to, not everyone will remember to, some people are,
Well, you paid for it. Yeah.
Well, or, when am I gonna do this, right? I mean, that's, for some people, I mean, I'm having a hard time visualizing how bags would take up a lot of space if you're not filling them until you get there.
Right. That's right.
I mean, right, cause, right, but I'm not the expert here, so,
Fair enough.
You
Absolutely solution to look at, but,
yeah.
as I said, one of the big items on our, call sheet, and they are doing the setup of the election day polling places, is finding the forms, finding everything, so.
Well, if you make an election day form go away, I'll supply all the bags.
Fair enough. We will look into possible options for this, but,
That
again,
may be
this
the
is not
most
just,
feasible though.
yeah, this is
Yeah.
not just a process to
Empty
be addressed
bag.
by us, this is
Yeah.
500 people activity, so.
Because that wouldn't take much room and
Something like-
And wouldn't weigh much.
way much. And then, fill them if you need them.
And then if the fight breaks out, throw them.
Yes, there you go.
Then-
Yes, they'll throw them at us when we come try to
Yeah.
clean up the
I only
fight.
hope it's not cold, the water doesn't leak out, doesn't freeze.
Every solution we can come up with,
Look at reliability.
we'll have issues, okay? We
Fair
know
enough.
that, and we know that not just for electioneering, we know that for lots of things.
Everything, yeah.
But if we can make it a little bit easier on our judges and a little bit easier on all of us for these electioneering signs moving, because, I think a lot of our judges have enough issue with trying to figure out where those signs go, even though we give them pictures, even though, I mean, not everyone can look at the picture and figure it out so easily. But if we can take one step out of the process for them that literally requires them to either search their own supplies or go buy something, or search for rocks, which is usually, that's what I end up doing. If I'm called somewhere and I need to move an electioneering sign, that's what I'm looking for, but. Anyway, please consider whatever you can. Is there any further, did you have more slides to show us? or-
Just the standard, it's
Okay.
approximately 1.5 miles
Right.
between the two.
And you can see in this picture that Damascus Elementary School is not in the precinct that is adjacent to 1201. Okay.
The voting room, it would be the all-purpose room. It's a little under 3,000 square
Right,
feet.
plenty of space.
It's an elementary school, 71 parking spaces. There's an adjacent neighborhood park that overflow parking could occur in. It's ADA compliant, and there's public transit, which is in our next slide, 750 feet from the entrance.
Okay. Is it okay if we have one motion on both the Dropbox and the, Margie, I'm gonna call on you for a motion on we have two staff proposals, one for the Dropbox location and one for the polling place location.
So I move that the board approve the staff proposal for a Dropbox location change within the Riderwood Senior Living Community for the 2026 election cycle, and approve the staff proposal for a polling place location at Clear Spring Elementary School for the precinct 12-1 for the 2026 election cycle as well.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Margie, seconded by Ami. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. It is unanimous, 5-0. Thank you very much. Okay, next we move on to new business. And the first item of new business, I think if I remember correctly, I'm calling on Kevin to lead us off on that. And then I'm sure I and others will perhaps have other things to say as well.
Well, this is, we've done a draft policy with regard to the use of photographs for the board and for staff and myself. This kind of came out of the use of a photograph of a staff member on a campaign page. And I spoke to David about it. I said, well, this is probably, this would be a good thing to have a policy on that the board is not granting any candidate or campaign permission to use photographs because it can be perceived that that either a board member or staff or myself, is showing support for that particular individual. So those kinds of photographs shouldn't be on someone's campaign page. So we drafted the proposal to sort of try and make it clear that the board does not wish photographs to be used for that purpose. And it's kind of going to be a work in progress here because we spent a lot of time going back and forth about sort of the what if this, what if this. I think we're probably gonna have to work through some of those things moving forward. But the gist of it is that this is the board taking a position as it has in the past that doesn't want to be perceived as providing preferential treatment or not preferential treatment to a particular candidate or campaign. And that's what the policy is intended to memorialize. I know that an amendment, David circulated one, some changes to it, and
Yes.
red line changes to it earlier today.
Yes, thank you. I think what I'm gonna do next is, first of all, I will say that if I hope everybody saw their email, because I sent, it was roughly 1:30. I guess I could,
I could
I
actually.
don't think I saw it at 1:30.
okay. Then I guess the question is can we print it out for Alex?
So you can just tell me what the.
Well, here
Yeah.
it is, Alex, if you want.
Okay, so I'm gonna start by, Daniel has a motion to make just to get the conversation started, and then we will be happy to talk about it. Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. President, thank you, Mr. Kapinski, for the work that you put into this. So I move that we adopt a policy governing the use of photographs of Montgomery County Board of Election members, attorney, or staff by political candidates or campaigns of political or ballot questions.
And you're moving the version from my email today.
Red line first.
Yes.
No, it doesn't have to be the red line version because nothing has been put before the board yet.
That's good.
This is the first time that it's been put before the board. The red line was designed for anyone who read what was circulated to the board members on Thursday.
That's good.
But at the moment, that document has not been, no one has moved that document. But I'd be happy to explain any of the or others can also explain any of the changes. Is there a second to Daniel's motion?
Second.
Okay, moved by Daniel, seconded by Alex. Let me say a couple of things about this, just for clarification's sake, and then happy to, for whatever discussion. First of all, we have very limited ability to tell other people what to do.
Do we have any of them?
Well, I was
You can tell them.
I was being loyally careful because I don't want to challenge the political community of Montgomery County to try and come up with something that will spur us to action where we feel like we have to do something. The example that I thought of that I figured that we would almost certainly have to do something, and I don't think any political organization in Montgomery County would do this, is if they put our pictures on their sample ballot. Okay, because their sample ballot is not just a sample ballot, it's a sample ballot marked with certain choices, whereas our sample ballot is truly a sample ballot with no choices marked. If they were to somehow imply that their sample ballot was endorsed by us, then I don't know if we would be moved to action. So I'm not going to try and speculate about what it is that would cause us action, but for the most part, this policy is about what we approve of and what we don't approve of, and are expressing to people, if they're doing something that we don't approve of, that we express it to them. And the hope is that people will understand what the issues are and why we as a board, we as individual board members are not in a position we don't want to create a perception that we are favoring anyone over anyone else. And I should add that perception is not always going to be a majority perception. It might be a segment of the public that is concerned, but it's still a concern. We want to do everything we can to assure our voting public that we're not taking sides. So you can see that this policy is about what we are giving permission for, not giving permission for, et cetera. There is, although the policy starts with a reference to what the rules are for us and staff, there has been no incident involving board members, staff members, the board attorney, or anyone that has led to this. So I want to make that really, really clear. It's not like something bad happened and a policy came out. As Kevin indicated, there was an indication that there was a candidate website. That's what caught people's attention. But I want to make very clear. I think, in my experience, board members and staff members, and of course the board attorney, are very familiar with what it is that we do and don't do relative to all of that. And then just the last thing I wanted to say is that I did have some conversations before this meeting with other board members, and I appreciated, I learned from each conversation. And notice I didn't just say each board member, because there was multiple conversations. I learned from each from each conversation. And the goal of the amendments was really to be even clearer about what the board's role is, what it is that would get our attention, and basically it's very hard to try and cover every situation that could come up, and I'm quite sure, as Kevin said, that as time goes on, we'll learn of new situations that weren't thought of. But the goal was to try and cover what made sense to cover without being over inclusive. Because for one thing, all of us got on this board by being recommended by political party organizations. So it's not like we don't know the people at the political party functions, nor is there a ban on our going to political party functions. But all of us also have to be careful about not putting ourselves in situations that will then end up, causing a perception problem about us with specific candidates. I think that the parties are a little bit different than the candidates because the parties are part of our statutory process. But our being not associated with candidates is also part of the statutory process, and that's what we're trying to protect. So, are there further comments or questions?
Just got a tiny question.
Okay,
So just pertaining to board staff, are there also limits on, as I'm guessing this covers board staff as well?
this does, yes.
And in terms of, are there currently like limits on board staff in regards to political participation due to their employment?
I do not know the answer to that question.
Coming at you.
No, I know that there is there's a statute that applies to board staff that applies to us. It might be 2301B, the one that I quoted here. Hang on a second and let me pull it up. And like I say, it has rarely, if ever, been an issue, so. Hang on a second. Okay, so 2301, which is the statute that is quoted in the preamble to this policy, does apply to an employee of the state board or of a local board, including the election director of a board. It also applies to the council. It also applies to all of us. It also applies to election judges. And it says an individual subject to this section may not, while holding the position, hold or be a candidate for any elective office or political party office or any other office created under the Constitution or laws of this state, use the individual's official authority for the purpose of influencing or affecting the result of an election. And then it says, or except as provided in paragraph 2, which I'll get to in a second, as to any candidate or matter that is the subject of an election under this article, be a campaign manager, be a treasurer or sub-treasurer, or take any other active part in political management or a political campaign. And then paragraph 2 says that election judges may engage in a political campaign except while performing their duties on election day. And it sounds like they can't be a campaign manager or a treasurer. Now, interesting that that particular provision doesn't deal with, for example, early voting because it says election day. I would assume that it applies to early voting because there are other statutes that say the rules that apply to election day apply to early voting. So I believe that I'm not the expert, but I believe that would say that our staff cannot take an active part in political management or a political campaign currently. Same rules that apply to us. How that's interpreted, that's a different story. How that relates to other laws, I don't pretend to know.
You should put that on your legislative fix for next year, 'cause obviously is the product of an outdated statute before you had early voting.
Well, first, we have to find out if there's another statute that, because I believe there's something that says somewhere what applies to election day applies to early voting. And I have to look at that and see whether it covers it or not.
Yeah, see whether it's broad.
Yeah, see whether it's broad enough to cover it, because yeah, it would be kind of amusing if our early voting election judges are allowed to participate in campaigns, but our election day judges are not. That would change the dynamic of early voting quite a bit. No, that's just it.
I think also it's reflected in their oath that they signed, so.
It is.
Yeah, I don't think that's that's a ministerial change to, to make the law catch up with the reality. I don't think we've ever had any issue with that. Anything else, Margie?
No.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, then let's go to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item under new business is a discussion regarding mail-in ballots. And I wanted to start with a couple of comments and then kind of throw it open. And I'm not looking for a motion at all. I just thought we would have a conversation. This is a subject that I'm sure we will be continuing to talk about for a while. You know, and as we're looking for ways to make sure that the members of our public are aware of, I mean, every method of voting has pros and cons. And all of our methods of voting, you know, we'd like to tell people that there's three ways to vote, right? There's early voting, election day, and mail-in. But in truth, there are two different ways of voting in person and at least two different ways. And two different ways of voting by mail, because the voting in person, you have the ballot marking device and you have pen and paper. And that's true for both early voting and for election day. And for the mail-in balloting, you have what I am now calling, although I'm willing to change what we call it if people have a better idea. I'm calling it print your own ballot. Because I want the word print to be out there, because I want to remind people that they need to print it. But you have the print your own ballot, which has its pluses and minuses, and you have the US mail ballot, which has its pluses and minuses. And so I think that our goal that we've been talking about at this table for some time has been to try and make sure that our voters know what they're getting when they're choosing, because we seem to have a number of voters who either choose things and change their mind, or choose things and aren't able to complete them, aren't able to return their ballots, or you know, various ways that they're not fully informed about their methods of choosing. And the reason why we've been focusing on the mail-in ballots is because of the huge non-return rate, for lack of a better term, especially for the print your own ballots. And when you look at those numbers, which I have been doing, I spent a lot of time with those numbers as a result of the presentation that I've been giving. And for the younger folks, for folks below age 35, the non-return rate is roughly double what it is for them with the US mail ballots. And for folks over 35, the non-return rate for those who do use the print your own ballots, they triple. And so that's obviously indicative of a potential issue. Now, I will say, okay,
Triple?
yes. So I would have to show you the slides, which I'm not. I mean, I could pull them up if you're really interested. But these are all slides that Boris showed us in his presentation many months ago.
Oh.
But basically, if you look at the return rates, and I will say that younger voters are less likely to return their ballots of both kinds. In other words, the non-return rate is higher for the youngest voting category than it is. As you get older, you're more likely to return your mail-in ballot. As you get older, you're more likely to return your print your own ballot. But for the print your own ballots, the younger voters, it roughly doubles your non-return rate if you use
Doubles the non-return rate for the population generally, you mean?
No, doubles the non-return rate for each age category. What I'm saying is that if I showed you the chart, maybe I should, if I showed you the chart of the age categories for the return rate for US mail ballots, and then I showed you the chart for the return rate by age, I would say. So it's basically, it's a bar graph that shows different age categories. If I showed you the chart, I can pull them up and show you. But basically what that shows is that the non-return rate increases drastically across all age groups, but it increases even more because the non-return rate for the older voters is less. So the non-return rate for the older voters is neighborhood of 10%. For the US mail ballots. If you're 35 or non-return rate for those voters with the print your own ballot is 30%, roughly. Again,
For the same age bracket.
for the same age brackets. For the 18 to 34-year-olds, the the non-return rate, I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's, it's somewhat higher. And then it roughly doubles for the print your own ballots.
Okay, so what you're saying is the younger folk are more facile at printing them than the older folk.
I don't know that I'm saying that. I'm not sure I'm saying anything about their printing. What I'm saying is that they're not returning them. I'm saying that they are, we don't know, we don't have data that tells us why people don't return them. We have guesses, okay? We have people who decide that they want to go to the polls. It's a nice day. Surprised me completely.
The meeting video is muted.
Does not mean web return. That's why I'm personally very interested in having the word print be used, because I think we have lots of voters who don't have printers.
Yes, and that's what I
yeah,
was thinking, it's the younger cadre that don't have printers in general.
I think that's generally true. And the
Yes.
question is, do they think that and I don't know this, I don't know the answer.
I think that's true.
But and again, we're not talking about a majority. We're talking, I think, what we're talking
Yeah,
about
but
is significant. It's a significant percentage, and I know that we on this board are not interested in having a method of voting that a huge number of people don't return their ballots. Now personally, I would rather that number one, I would rather the people know exactly what they're getting. And to be able to choose, because there are, there are pros and cons to all these different methods. But mostly I want to make sure that, that people, that our nomenclature doesn't confuse them. Because I think there are times that it does. Now, admittedly, we have so many different voters and so many different personalities and so many different frames of reference. What will be confusing to one may be, not for someone else, et cetera. We don't have, the budget to go out and, to survey people and say, why didn't you return your ballot? And have meaningful results. So what I'm looking at least for now, is ways that through our communications, and we have a lot of existing communications that we already do, but I mean, existing communication methods, is ways to get the word out about the different methods of voting. One of the things that I've been repeating for people on a regular basis, aside from print your own and you need to have a printer and paper and envelope, et cetera, I also tell people, if you get your mail-in ballot and you want to go to the polls, bring your mail-in ballot completed in the envelope with the oath to the polls. And you can, give it to an election judge, and you don't have to deal with provisional ballots, and you don't have to deal with, long lines and, et cetera. I think there's a lot of people who don't realize that they can do that.
I think that's right. I have a question.
Go ahead.
Boris, is there a way to develop a list of the human beings that request a mail-in ballot and don't return them?
Yes.
Is there a way to get a list of the human beings that request a print your own ballot and don't return them?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna go find a political science professor and have them set a graduate student to go do a poll on why. I think just as a matter of interest, that's a good project for a graduate student.
Okay,
It has nothing to
yeah.
do with our current discussion.
well, it does in the sense that if we want it to be useful, obviously, it's gonna have to be put together in a way that everyone finds, valid and convincing, which I'm sure
Which can be done.
which can be done. I think that's a great idea. I was gonna ask it, I'll come to you in just a second, Margie. I thought you were going somewhere else with that, which is that, Boris started in the last election, a number of not legally required emails to people on the subject of their mail-in ballots, including asking people some version of, "You're signed up for this, are you sure?" And I'm wondering whether there's any message that we can send to people who didn't return their ballot that would also, produce anything useful for us as, and again, I'm not looking for things that would cost a lot because, we don't have a budget for this. But on the other hand, if we have a way that we can say to the people who didn't return their ballots, here's what you need to know, or something along those lines.
But let me just say, I need to look into whether we can go ahead and share our election data with a third party.
Yes.
Go ahead and do this research.
Yes, yes,
It's one thing for the staff to go ahead and reach out to a voter. It's
Right,
another thing
right,
for a third
right,
party to reach out.
right. And then the question would also be, is there a way to anonymize the data, but it has to really be anonymized well, if you
But it will
do
be
that?
valid as a result.
If I can bring it, I think last year there was a letter sent from that nonprofit saying to people, you didn't vote last time.
Right, right. And that was a big problem.
And that was a big problem because
Yes.
someone was tracking whether you voted or not, which is your right. I have to do it either way. And for us giving data out saying
Ah,
Larry
so
didn't vote, go after,
Oh, yeah, right, go find out why.
yeah.
Sorry,
Sorry, Larry, but.
Larry's about the least likely person not to have voted.
Called worse.
Larry probably spends more time with voting than anyone here.
I'll leave it to Kevin to.
okay, but that would really be an interesting graduate student.
It would be. Margie,
Figure out.
yes.
The one thing I wanted to, just as throwing it out there, I wonder if as we start to automate things with technology, everyone just expects that things can be done faster and more instantaneously. So like I have an intern who doesn't even know how to send like mail out, so I had to teach her.
Yeah.
Because she's like, well, where do I write this? I mean, she could Google it.
Right.
At the end of the day, but it's like she was really slow at first because she didn't even, we had a bunch of things that I needed her to send out. But I just think that there will be an increasing divide over time as people just naturally become more reliant on technology. And then they probably won't return their print at home ballots because like things that take more steps, like even when people try to access websites nowadays, like people only go to a homepage. Like even the way websites are being set up, I feel like are just like, how can you get the information fast?
Right.
So,
Right,
like,
3 clicks deep is too many.
Right,
so
right. Or can artificial intelligence find the exact page for me?
being is
Yeah.
that, like, putting even print at least makes someone aware of the process that they're gonna have to go through.
Right,
And I think it will be a problem in the future that people won't return things because they don't realize that the extent of needing stamps, needing envelopes, needing to
Right.
write things out.
right. And that's really the goal here, is to get across to people what's involved, because for a lot of the folks who think it will be faster, they may not realize, they may have only thought through the first few steps and not the next ones. And so, I mean, that's kind of part of our, that's part of our goal here. I think most of you have heard my story that, my kids started college probably 10 years ago, but when they used to take us to visit around their college campuses, each one at a different campus, they would point to the post office and they'd say, "That's where I vote." Because that was the only relevance it had to because they were trained to seek a postmark before they
Yeah.
let go of their ballot, but they had no reason to go there otherwise. Anyway. Kina and Larry, did you have anything you wanted to add to this conversation?
Yeah. Take it away.
Thank you, sir. So regarding our brainstorm for mail-in ballots, first we thought about simply having some type of spokesperson or a spokesperson group, so to speak. The reality is people will usually go to someone they trust amongst their community or within an industry. And it's not something we've actually explored, whether it's for the Board of Elections, Montgomery County, or the Board of Elections, State of Maryland. I'd say the closest we've gotten to is the advertisement that features Dr. Zelaya and other members of his committee, where trusted members of that group were featured, and hopefully
I'm
we'll.
sorry, which group are you referring to, Kina?
Dr. Zelaya, if you're still in the room, if you can please
I'm
confirm
sorry.
on this.
Oh, you're saying, yeah, he's not in the room, but you're talking about his outreach staff?
No, it's not the outreach staff. There is within the Maryland State Board of Elections, there is a group that he is a part of. Essentially, they serve as almost like liaisons to each of their county representatives. And I'm sure if he was here, he'd be able to confirm the name of it. But in short, the idea is that select members of the group that either carry favor or are well known were a part of this advertisement. It's one that was very visible during the primaries and during general election. I'm sure some of you might have seen it even on a billboard or against, for me, it was up against one of the very large walls in Baltimore City. Point is that the visibility of having someone explain the steps of voting, not just for mail-in voting, because that's conversation right now, but collectively the steps for the ways to vote can carry favor within certain communities. So I think that's someplace that we can explore as an option. Also to that, the matter of reviewing our marketing as it is. I'm someone that within my career spends a lot of time thinking about human behavior and the easiest way to go from point A to point completed. And for a lot of people, it does come down to the number of 3 or 4. The reality is, as it's both on the Board of Elections page and also in a lot of our subsequent election material, there isn't a lot of 3 or 4 step wording that exists. And that's because of a multitude of reasons. But I see a lot of benefits, and Larry and I talked about this, a lot of benefits to creating some type of conciseness in the steps as almost like a header to what will then subsequently be the additional steps or notes that come along with the process. So particular to that of the mail-in ballot would be the opportunity to say, can be done in 4 steps. Won't even go ahead and say easy steps, just can be done in 4 steps. And in those 4 steps, you have
I want to stop. I want to stop you for just a second, Kina, because
Yes.
I don't know that print your own ballots can be done in 4 steps.
David, the point is not to say it can be done in 4 steps, but the point is to say that humans typically reply well to things said in 3 or 4 steps. So while right now, this is just a conversation of a brainstorm, not a proposal, it's simply to say this is what humans typically will respond to.
Okay.
Yes. And then lastly, but technically not lastly, Larry had brought to our attention that the Maryland State Board of Elections has a video dedicated to mail-in ballots. They actually do use a different word for it. Their exact wording is online ballot delivery. And so with this video, it is in need of a refresh. And I think that could also.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes, as you are very well aware. So many
Yes.
thanks, Larry, for bringing this to our attention. But a video like that needs a refresh and can be another vehicle to help us educate people on how to do mail-in ballots correctly.
Let me oh yeah, go ahead, Larry. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's my unscientific perception of the problem. Rubs the fact that at the early voting center, at least once a day, someone walked in with this fistful of crumpled paper saying, what do I do with this now? I printed this at home. There's this oath. It's not an envelope. There's this thing. What do I do? And we actually set up a station for them to finish that, make the envelope, put it in, and put it on the drop box more than once a day. And so there was a confusion point that there was something in the process that is not clear.
Yeah.
So the question is now, how do we make that clearer in what we say and do? Back to Kina's point, I think if we were to craft some communications by whatever means and do it so well that these numbers go down, state would be happy to see it.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we'd be happy.
Yeah.
Yes. Because, I think we have enough of an issue of creativity and all of that. I think that if we were to in any way attempt to deal with the state on this, that it'll make it infinitely more complicated. Because they will then say, well, okay, this might be good for really big Montgomery County, but what about little county over here? And of course, you know, their situation is very different than ours. Not only that, I'm not trying to come up, at least at this I don't think it's our role to promote or the opposite for any particular kind of voting. I think it's our role to let the voters decide with full knowledge. You know, I am not a believer that we say this is better than that. I think that, you know, and I think anyone who has served with Diane knows that we've had that conversation multiple times. Really, any differently about this. I do think that there's some really good potential ideas here that we probably should let the staff look into and, you know, and consider as to, you know, what warrants our follow-up, you know, in terms of, whether our, you know, our current marketing may or may not be sufficient, may or may not be in need of refresh. Obviously, I mean, I saw Kina and Larry were kind enough to share the link to the state video with me, and it would have been lovely if we had opened it and said, aha, we have what we need, and we could go on from there. But that, I mean, first of all, we have a state law that says it's supposed to be called a mail-in ballot. So you know, that's a, you know, that, and quite frankly, you know, one of my lines in my presentation is that we call it a mail-in ballot, but more of our voters use drop boxes than the mail right now. But whatever the, you know, whatever the case. But I think it makes sense for us to look into, you know, kind of how we can, we have to make people better aware of what's involved. And as Kina pointed out, we're going to have different kind of attention levels. So to me, having the word print was designed for the person who has almost no attention, but they recognized the word web, but they didn't, you know, but delivered somehow didn't get through.
Print was a nasty surprise.
Yeah, exactly. Print was a nasty surprise, and so that's why, to me, the word print has to be, you know, has to be in there somewhere. But then we're also going to have people who are going to want to know, you know, every single step, and when they see that there are as many steps as they are, because I think we're kind of morally obligated to tell people not only all the steps that they're taking, but the steps that we're taking, because, you know, we're going to be hand duplicating all of these ballots, and people should know that. So I realize it's a complicated question, because on the one hand, we're trying to get people's attention in a way that is not complicated. And on the other hand, we're trying to make sure that if people want to delve deeper, that they can get a deeper dive. Kina.
Yes, Mr. President, you mentioned earlier, just in this moment, the moral obligation to let the public know the process that it takes to handle the mail-in ballots. And I respectfully see a different viewpoint on this. I think that if the public understands maybe not so much the responsibility or the process that it takes, but more what happens to their ballots, almost like an informational video or an informational just set of images that helps them understand that, like, instead of what it takes for us. Because I don't think, and my experience, that the labor is what's going to connect with people.
Oh, no,
more
I'm
so-
not talking about, the labor. I'm not trying to convince people how to vote based on how hard or difficult it is for us. I'm
Understood.
trying to make sure that people know that the piece of paper they sent us is not the piece of paper that goes through the scanner. The piece of paper they sent us is the piece of paper that we duplicate onto ballot paper that then goes onto the scanner. Because
Understood.
I think there will be a population of people who will say, you know, I don't think I want that. I think I just want to, I'll get my US mail ballot and I'll send it in, and then my markings will be the ones that, you know, that go through the printer. But I am very cognizant of the burden on the staff and on all of us and on every canvasser and all of that. But I don't personally believe that that should be the deciding factor, because, you know, we're here to make voting convenient, in my opinion, for every person eligible to vote. Obviously not for the people who are not eligible to vote. That's a different question. If you know, et cetera. But for people who are eligible to vote, you know, our job is to make it easy for them. And sometimes it's not easy for us. And we have, you know, we had 22 days of canvass in 2024, and we could have more.
We will.
And we didn't have a recount in 2024, so you know that could add as well. Not convenient for us, but you know that's part of the job. But I totally agree with you, Kina, that no, the general public, there'll be a very small segment of the general public that'll be interested in seeing a room of 100 canvassers and all of us and all of that. And for those people, I would love for them to see it. I just want the voters to know that if they use this method of voting, you know, the end result will be a hand duplication.
I don't think that will impact on very much of their decision making. I think the only thing that impacts on their decision making is how much trouble it is for them.
I think that that's true for most voters, but I think that there will be some voters who will not like the idea of even a bipartisan team of election being responsible. Yep.
Recording in progress.
I'm gonna turn my audio on. So you can turn yours.
This one is
Okay. Not okay. It's under F1, I believe. Okay. No. All right. Hand was up. I'll get to you. Oh, no. Can you hear me, Kina? Okay, you can. Okay. I saw your hand was up. Boris, what were you saying?
Yeah, so in essence, like looking at what would cause voters to consider to change the mode of voting that they are practicing is, I agree that the reflection on what kind of time requirement of the labor on our end would take will not be placed high on their priority list. However, waiting for their ballot to be counted, for that ballot to be received, processed, sent to canvass, tabulated, and then for them to receive a notification is something that might trigger
Yes,
their.
Add one to that, though, waiting for their ballot to arrive. Because for people who are waiting for their ballot to arrive, that may be some of the the draw of the of the print your own ballot, because you're not waiting as long as you do for a contractor to put it in the mail, you know, et cetera.
Yeah, but I also think that the big. I agree 100%, especially those voters who are anxious to have as ballot as early as possible in their hand. Anyone who is on the permanent list will get like 40 something days.
Yeah, I'm referring to the people who aren't on the permanent list, but who still think in the modern era of Amazon delivery in, you know.
It goes as quickly as DoorDash.
Right, that it comes that quickly. And we know that it sometimes takes quite a bit of time for someone who requests not as part of the permanent list is gonna get it pretty
Yeah.
efficiently and early. Because that all goes out, you know, either 45 or 43 days before the election, by law. But for the people who come later, for the people who are, you know, asking for their ballots in the next 4 weeks after that, some of them are gonna think that if they ask for it on Monday, that they'll get it by Friday, and they might, but.
But they might not.
Right, now, when it gets to the end of the process, and our staff is sending them out, which is a pain for them, but then they get it quickly. But and thank you for that. But when the contractor is doing it, it almost never happens quickly.
And
Yeah.
may I just add, just for the record.
Yeah.
The fact that you go online and request printed home, web delivery, or whatever you call the ballot, you're not getting it that day.
Right,
And that's the expectations that voters have. I fill out the online form, just like I fill out by Amazon order or something, click send, and I get the notification it's on your way. No, it's not. We have to receive it, we have to process the request, we have to return it to the state will send out notification.
which is yet again another thing we have to let people know.
It is,
Because when they're figuring out their pros and cons, you know, it's not instantaneous.
Is there when you fill out the print your own application with the state? What, is there an average time when?
we will get the day after.
You'll get a day after.
We will get the day after, and then, once we get the application, the process day after. Under assumption that we already don't have a backlog, because people start submitting them in certain time.
Right.
It will be processed that day. If there is a backlog, it will be processed in order it was received.
Okay,
So.
then that
whichever-
goes back to the state and they have to then send the link out.
They send a link, it's not
Right.
us.
And do they do that the next day or they have a backlog too?
If we process it, they will pick up, every day they pick up web deliveries as we get closer to election.
2 days a week.
2 days a week at the beginning. I think they increase their pickups as we get closer to election. So nothing is instantaneous.
Right, okay.
And I just, Larry, I have to make a comment on something that Larry mentioned as a former esteemed central manager of Potomac. Larry had this table established where people will bring their mail-in ballots and complete them. And if I may suggest that not to be something that we advocate, because if we offer it during early voting, we have to offer it in election day.
Yeah.
Not every polling place has enough space as a Potomac. Not every polling place will have enough judges to monitor those people. And I can tell you right now, we have that mail-in ballots will end up in scanners.
Yeah.
So let's
Let's not
mark this
advocate for
day on
something that
calendar.
you pulled off maybe in your location because
Well,
Yeah.
the lady, she was gonna sit down and do it anyway. I mean, so I was-
that's
Right.
fine.
Yeah, right.
There are
We just. helped her.
benches, there are places, setting up a table, additional table in the room is.
So we're gonna mark this day on our calendar. This is the first, but not the last instance of Larry disclosing something that he did that we're gonna say he can't do.
It won't be the last.
Actually, he was able to do it, but the next
No,
person.
we want people to bring mail-in ballots to the polling place.
Yes.
We want them to bring them to the early voting sites, polling place, we will receive
But
them.
you gave me envelopes for this purpose,
Which
Well,
envelopes?
for people to put together mail and assemble their, print your own ballots. I don't, when I ask for envelopes, because these people, again, you sent me envelopes.
Larry, you set up a new station that doesn't
It was
exist
a
at the
chair
polling
there.
place.
It was a chair.
Okay, so.
Chair at the
Okay.
next table.
Let's take this conversation offline, yes,
Fair enough, fair enough.
let's take the conversation offline, but I think what we've discovered is that,
There's
Um,
another problem with the print your own ballots that was not on our list.
Any
Well,
ballot, because
well,
they're
well,
different ones, right?
well, basically what it sounds like, you know, there may be a shortage of envelopes for people because because people don't use US mail very often, you know, even at my age, you know, so it could very well be that, you know, but and again, we just have to, I mean, print your own doesn't automatically tell you that you need an envelope, but it kind of implies it. And we may have,
Prizes.
yeah, well, yeah, right, because people will think that you can print it and bring it to Larry and, you know.
Sure. it
Yeah,
is.
so anyway, we'll have to figure out how to get that across. I love the aspiration of four-step directions, but I think it's
6
gonna,
steps.
I think it's gonna be really hard for this process. But on the other hand, I do think we have to look at trying to make it so that people will at least pay attention, and at least delve deeper if they need to. You know, because, you know, for example, you know, we can't really say to people, you need a stamp, because if they use a Dropbox, they
They
don't,
don't need.
you know, but we can
If
say,
you
yeah,
wish to mail it.
right, right, right.
US provided.
Right,
stamp.
so anyway, yes, the plus side of all these options is that we have lots of options, and the negative side is that it's a very complicated flow chart if we try to tell everybody what all of their options are. Because I said that there were 2 options for mail-in ballots, and it turns out, you know, if you think about it, with the print your own, we have a different option for Dropboxes than we do for US mail. Anyway, it's a complicated
May I just,
situation.
Dave,
Yes.
I apologize.
Yeah.
If we are talking about communicating these 3 steps, 4 steps, 6 steps, doesn't matter. The point of entry matters. At which point we engage in this communication.
Yes,
Because communication matters like at the pre-request phase, at the request phase, at the ballot delivery phase, ballot return phase. And this all will be intermingled with every other communication that is going in the other by any other player in that time, including the state board. Right? Because the moment you request mail-in ballot, you will get something from the state board as well. So I think that we have to look what is the entry point for our communication to take place, to be most effective. I don't have the answer from the top of my head, but it's
My
something.
mission is just sooner the better, early the, I mean, after the process is underway, it's almost not too late, but there are forks in the road chosen by the voter by then that you can't take off.
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying.
Point of entry
I don't have an answer from the top of my head, but
Right.
Yes.
it will have to affect the planning.
Okay, I'm gonna call on Margie, and then I'm gonna try to wrap up this conversation, which I thought was really helpful, but since we don't have a motion that's needed, and we do have an executive session to hold, I'm thinking it's probably time for us to move along, but Margie, go ahead.
Really quickly, thinking about a cost-effective method of doing this, you could think about the best way to present it, where then someone could click and learn more, but what about using either earned media, using social media, press releases, emails, infographics, something that wouldn't like we could like the board could take on. So then like the 2-part would be, first, how can you do it? Where people will click to learn more if they're interested, you know, not just the one person that you just changed the word for but like the higher lift for other people more interested. And then this, like using the different points of entry or the different platforms that the board already has as a sunk cost could be a way of also disseminating the information, so that there obviously is already like information campaigns that the board does, but like what could be changed to maybe start to people be able to differentiate between the different modes of voting.
Excellent, thank you. Anyone have anything to say about that?
Maybe a question. Are you under 35? Touch the post. You'll be able to find the nearest post office if you're lucky.
Do you own a printer?
If
Yeah.
you answer no to any of these questions,
Yeah,
you might
yeah.
be an in-person voter.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
Isn't it a bad idea?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know you weren't, I know you weren't completely joking and you weren't completely serious, but I do think that there's something there,
There's something
you know.
Alex, you cannot ask, do you have a printer? You have to ask, do you have access to a printer?
Yeah, access to a printer.
You know what a printer.
And you have
Yeah.
voter
Your
for it.
fingers ever gotten stapled with hair, you know.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, thank you all for an excellent discussion, and we will, you know, we will look at how to proceed from here. Because obviously whatever we do, we have to get cracking because we're getting,
Soon.
we're getting closer to when we have to implement whatever it is we're gonna do. The next thing is to list the future action items from today's meeting. I know that Kevin has a future action item related to the policy that we adopted today, which I'm sure is already on his to-do list. And I know that this is not an urgent future action item, but I had asked Dr. Zelaya to let me know about his visit to Northwood High School, which of course he probably won't be scheduling for some time because school is out. Were there other action items that we had from today's meeting? Because
Register of wills, how to remove, how he's.
Yes,
remove
yes.
things from the-
right,
And on staff to look into possible weights or something, sand or something to hold non-electioneering signs.
yes, excellent, thank you. I don't know how I left those two out. I probably asked for them, but anyway, anything else that anyone thinks should be on that list? Okay, the next item is approval of the minutes. Ami, you were the last one to send comments.
Right, and I don't think anyone did after me.
I believe that's correct, and
So I guess I will move that we adopt the minutes that as corrected by David and then edited by me.
I'll second.
okay, any discussion?
These are the minutes of the June,
These are right, these are the minutes of the June meeting. We did not have a meeting in July.
Right,
And they were distributed several weeks ago before Lisa went on vacation. Thank you, Lisa, for doing that.
yeah, I've forgotten what
So
date.
hopefully you had a good
So,
one.
I was looking for him today, but yeah, it's in there somewhere.
okay,
I think they went out on June 20th, it was like right after.
Yeah, so it was
it was a while back.
it was a while back. Okay, is there a second?
Yeah, Dan
Getting a
is,
second in it. I'm sorry. Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. It is unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, about our future meetings, I'm just going to, and then we'll get in a moment to our executive session, we have our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, September 15th. That will be a virtual meeting. Our meeting after that, and these are all on the regular schedule. We're back to the third Monday for our next three meetings. On Monday, October 20th, I think I indicated to you all, we consider that to be probably virtual. Unless there's a reason not to, a virtual meeting for October 20th. And we will have an in-person meeting on Monday, November 17th, which is our regular November meeting day.
David, have you decided when the meeting will start for November 17th?
I've decided, I know that we have to have an executive session and we have to have an executive session before our public meeting. I'm inclined to start it at 2:00, but that will, I guess what I want to do is I want to ask board members to let me know if we were to start an in-person executive session on November the 17th at 2:00, could you attend?
just.
And you don't need to answer right now. It's a couple months away. In fact, it is 3 meetings away, so, but we do want to lock it down. So, if you guys can just let me know this week, that would be very, very helpful.
Keep in mind, Dave, the staff's gonna need to change the meeting from 3 to 2 because you all need to you'll have to meet in open session, make a motion to go into closed session. Because that's part of what the Open Meetings Act requires.
Does it require us to do it on that day, or can we do it at our October meeting?
You have to do it that day, right, and give people the opportunity to object.
To object to going into closed session?
Correct.
Oh, okay, all right, well,
Versus Tony.
I'm sorry?
He knows the exact case.
Case that I argued in front of the Court of Appeals.
Okay, and were you on the side of the people who required it to be the same day, or you were on the side?
I was, yeah, don't answer.
Yeah, Fifth Amendment applies. All I will say is that, we're basically giving notice now that we're gonna have an executive session on that day, but apparently, we will follow whatever rules are required. But it would be very helpful to have everybody in person for that. So if that poses a problem for anybody, it would be helpful to know that this week. So, I believe, is there anything else for the good of the order?
Okay, do I make my motion now?
Yes,
Okay, we move to executive session to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter. And to consult with staff, consultants, and other individuals about pending or potential litigation.
okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, moved by Ami, seconded by Alex. All those in favor, raise your hand. And it is unanimous. Thank you very much.
We don't have a motion to close this meeting.
We don't need a motion to close the meeting.
Oh.
When we get to the end of the agenda, we are done. So this meeting is adjourned. The public meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
What are you keeping?